being here today. We've done this in a good bipartisan way. This is a good, strong bill. This bill has come under a previous Congress and done quite well. H.R. 1562 will increase tax compliance by federal contractors and grant recipients and deny contracts or grants to those with serious delinquent tax debt. I'm pleased to again present this bill in the House with Representative Jackie Spear, like we did in the past. I also appreciate the help of Representative John Carter in his co-sponsorship. The bill has a long history of bipartisan support, including from then Senator Obama and President Obama. While he cannot claim that he has commented specifically on this exact bill, this bill before us was something that was originally introduced by then Senator Obama years ago. 5 years ago, President Obama directed his administration to crack down on tax cheats and that are seeking government contracts. The president said, quote, "All across this country, there are people who meet their obligations each and every day. You do your jobs, you support your families, you pay taxes you owe because it's a fundamental responsibility of citizenship. The steps I'm directing today and the steps I'm calling on Congress to take are just basic common sense," he said. "They're not going to eliminate all of the waste or abuse in government contracting in one fell swoop. Going forward, we'll also have to do more to hold contractors accountable, not just for paying taxes, but following the other laws as well," end quote. I wholeheartedly and totally agree with the president's approach on this. On April 15th, 2013, the House passed this very similar piece of legislation by a vote of 407 to nothing. Unfortunately, the Senate did not act. 2 years later, we're considering the same bill today with some very minor changes. For example, the definition of serious delinquent tax debt now exempts individuals determined by the IRS to be under economic hardship. Let me remind my colleagues of what this bill does. H.R. 1562 denies contractors or grants to those with serious delinquent tax debt. The bill requires contractors and potential grant recipients to certify their tax status when submitting a proposal for a contract or a grant. If the agency finds a contractor or a grantee to have serious delinquent tax debt, then they would be referred for suspension or debarment and would not be eligible for new awards. There are exceptions in the bill for those that are trying to do the right thing, so they should not be covered under the definition of serious delinquent tax debt. Such people, including those who are paying their back taxes through debt installment plans or in the process of hearings with the IRS to finalize a determination of their debt or experiencing economic hardship as determined by the IRS, have exceptions. In 2007, then Senator Obama introduced legislation to address this contractor accountability issue. The bill before us today is simple. If contractors and those applying for grants don't pay their taxes, they will not be eligible for lucrative federal contracts or grants. At its core, this bill is about contractor and grant recipient accountability with taxpayer dollars. Whether we like it or not, the law requires we pay taxes. We expect the same from contractors and grant recipients. To give you some perspective on how much money we're talking about, the federal government spends about $1 trillion annually on contracts and grants. $1 trillion on just contracts and grants. Most recently, in fiscal year 2014, the federal government spent $444 billion on contracts and $591 billion on grants. That's a lot of money. It demands a lot of tax compliance. The GAO, the Government Accountability Office, has identified thousands of federal contractors with substantial amounts of unpaid taxes. Here are a few examples given to us by the GAO. Tens of thousands of recipients of federal grant and direct assistance programs collectively owed more than $790 million in federal taxes as of September 2006. Approximately 27,000 defense contractors owed about $3 billion. 33,000 civilian agency contractors owed roughly $3.3 billion. And 3,800 General Service Administration contractors owed about $1.4 billion in unpaid taxes. We're talking about $7.7, roughly, billion in uncollected taxes. At least 3,700 Recovery Act contract and grant recipients owed more than $750 million if known unpaid federal taxes while receiving over $24 billion in Recovery Act funds. So we have somebody who 3,700 contractors that already owe $750 million. And what do? we gave them $24 billion in additional contracts. GAO also found contractors were not paying payroll taxes or owed substantial property or other assets and still didn't pay their taxes. For example, under a VA HHS contract for healthcare-related services, a contractor was paid more than $100,000 in federal funds. The contractor also had an unpaid tax debt of more than $18 million. The owner was purchasing multi-million-dollar properties and unrelated luxury vehicles while not fully paying its payroll taxes. And it goes on and on. The tax accountability problem has become a potential national security problem. In 2014, the GAO found 83,000 Department of Defense employees and contractors who held or were eligible for security clearances had unpaid debt totaling more than $730 million. Now, not all contractors are tax cheats. The vast majority do pay their taxes on time and in full. Those who fail to satisfy their tax debt have a cost advantage over those who do pay their taxes. So you're competing for federal contracts, you're competing for grants. Some pay taxes, some don't. Who do you think is going to give the lower price and potentially get the next grant or contract? The person who can undercut them because they don't pay their taxes. It's just not fair. Further, many fulfill dangerous missions, invest in cutting-edge technology, and provide assistance for poor and others in need. Contractors who do not play by the rules should be held accountable. Unfortunately, despite our past efforts, we haven't been able to get this bill over the finish line. I hope the House will again support this bill as it did in the year 2013, and that the Senate will finally bring this bill up and pass it as they should. Hopefully, this Congress will be a bit different. I urge my colleagues to support H.R. 1562